Alright, now let's see first of all what is this coordinate geometry actually. So if you might have studied in the geography, I'm sure you know that there are some imaginary lines in the globe, like this line is equator, here we have Tropic of Cancer, here we have Tropic of Capricorn, here we have Arctic Circle, then here we have Antarctic Circle, and like that we can see a lot of lines here. In the same manner, like we have lines like this also. These are the vertical lines here, right? These lines are actually connecting the poles, and if you name them, I'm sure you know that these are the latitudes, and these are the longitudes. Okay, latitudes and longitudes. Okay, so why do we have these lines? What are the necessity of these lines? The main requirement for these lines is to check weather conditions at some particular point. Let's say I want to check about this particular point. I can easily find it out, like let's say 24-degree north and 42-degree east, right? This is actually like if we are talking about the north, then it means we are talking about the latitude, and if we are talking about east, that means we are talking about the longitude, right? Which longitude is on the 42-degree east and so on. So this system is actually used to identify the conditions at a particular location, which kind of landmark is there at this particular location. If we are going to launch a satellite, so this will point to a particular locations over here. How it will identify? This will identify only on the basis of these longitudes and latitudes, right? I'm sure you might have heard about a name that is a geostationary satellite, right? That are stationed over a particular location only. Or how it identifies that location? It uses this kind of latitude and longitudinal system, and we study these systems in a branch of mathematics that's known as coordinate geometry, right? Now, under this coordinate geometry, as you have already seen, we need two different axes, right? I need one horizontal axis and I need one vertical axis, right? This horizontal axis and this is vertical axis. For this horizontal axis, this can also be called as x-axis, and a vertical axis can also be called as y-axis. So x-axis and y-axis. All right. Now, moving ahead, we can draw these axes in a way like this way, that you can draw it in your graph copy also over here. So these are the perpendicular axes actually, and we can mark them as x, x dash, and y, y dash. All right. Now that you can make it in your graph paper and at the center of your graph paper. All right. Now this one, your perpendicular axis, this is also known as your ordinate axis, and actually the combination of these two, this is known as your coordinate axis, right? combination of these x-axis and y-axis is known as coordinate axis. And the point that you are going to mention over here after every 1 centimeter, as you do in your number line, these points are actually called as on the x coordinate. So we have two different set of coordinates. These are x coordinate and y coordinate. Alright, these are x coordinate and y coordinate. Fine. Now this x coordinates, these are also known as abscissa. Fine. And these y coordinates, these are also known as ordinate. Abscissa and ordinate. Okay. Now, if we have something to represent over there, let's say these are the points that you can make it after every 1 centimeter. So if you look at this, it looks almost more or less like your number line only. But this number line have two different dimensions, x and y over here. So like let's say we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, -1, -2, -3 and -4. 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5, -1, -2, -3, -4, -5, right? So upper part will be positive and lower part will be negative. Okay. Now let's say if I'm going to represent any point over here, how can I represent it? This can be represented, let's say the point over here is this, and I call it P. Fine. So first point, you have to represent the value of x over here, and after that you have to represent the value of y. So remember that whenever some value over here is written like this, you should understand that the first value is representing the value on x-axis and the second value is representing the value on the y-axis. So you can call it like P 3, 2. Alright, so this should be P 3, 2. In the same manner, like if I represent some value over here, let's say this is Q. On x-axis the value is -2 and on y-axis also the value is -2. Clear? In the same manner, like let's say if we put it some point over here, this is R. On x-axis the value is -3, on y-axis the value is 4, right? In the same fashion, if you can look at over here, this is S. On x-axis it is 4, on y-axis it is -3, right? Now if you look at these four values P, Q, R, S, you can find here that on this particular part we have both the values positive. On this particular part we have x as negative, y as positive. On this particular part we have both the values negative, and on this particular part we have x as positive, y as negative. Now what do we call these parts? These are called as the quadrant. So this is first quadrant, this one is second quadrant, after that we have third quadrant, this one is a third quadrant, and finally this one is a fourth quadrant. Okay, now if I give you some more details about a quadrant, this is first quadrant, second quadrant, third quadrant, and finally fourth quadrant. Right? Now let's see what is the nature of these x and y over the respective quadrants. In case of first quadrant, x is positive and y is also positive. Alright. In case of second quadrant, x is negative but y is positive. In case of third quadrant, x is negative, y is negative. And in case of fourth quadrant, x is positive but y is negative. So I hope up to this point the concept is clear to you. You can plot a couple of points on your graph paper also. Will that be okay? Would you like to go ahead?
Yes.
Alright, that's great. Now you can just take a note of it, and after that just now take your graph paper and plot point C 0, 3, point K -2, -4, and point L -7 plus 4. If I can give you an example of this first one, because let's say it is 0, so just consider that this point is a 0 point, a point where both these lines intersect each other. Like if x-axis it will be 0 and on y-axis it should be 3, so the point will lie over here. That's answer for C. I hope the point is clear to you. C 0, 3. So if I have given you the print of this, it will be better if you can take point A 3, 5. Alright, so just make a note of it, and after that solve these questions and let me know once it is done.